evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition here of Patriots MayeFlower Voyage series here on NE Patriots Talk channel. As always, I am the captain of the ship, Dow, aka DTN, and behind me, I got my two pirates with me. Well, two of my men with me. I got Mr. Austin and Mr. Thomas. How are we boys doing?
I'm doing good. Had a quick day at work, and I'm just really excited to get into some football talk on week 2, especially after kind of a week 1 blunder where we're kind of super hyped from the whole offseason and the draft and signings, and we're we're gonna go kick some ass, and that didn't happen. So really hoping for a bounce back against arguably what could be the worst team in the league in the Dolphins.
That's debatable.
Yeah, we'll definitely discuss about that. Regardless, wait, go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, you didn't ask me how I am, so I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, as you can see, my little entrance with the F and the glasses. But it's debatable on the worst team in the league. In my opinion, the worst team in the league is the Saints. It's nowhere close.
Saints, Dolphins.
Panthers.
Maybe that's only because Bryce Young reverted back to 2023 form, or maybe the beginning of 2024. But everything can change by November and December. But as usual, guys, please make sure that as you come in, you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps us grow the channel significantly, and we appreciate the support. We're currently at 87 subscribers. We got 13 more until we hit 100, and it would be really appreciated if not only you subscribe and not only you like this channel, but also share this to some of your friends who might be Patriots fans. Share this to all your friends. Share it to your family members who are interested on watching NE Patriots Talk, and specifically the 3rd episode of the Patriots MayeFlower Voyage. So you joined this channel, you're already subscribed, you're basically part of our journey throughout the rest of the season. So this is going to be a fun one. And as usual, guys, please make sure that you post your questions and comments in the YouTube chat. Just put it in the letter Q for question, S for statement, and just make sure before we get started with the show, please make sure that we're all respectful to one another, especially in the chat. And we're not going to dive into any of the drama, but let's get started with the immediate news before we break down the injury reports, getting into the enemy, recapping of where everything went wrong and how we can bounce back from there. But let's start off with the latest news. And as far as we know, that Terrell Williams will not be calling plays for the defense, and that is going to be linebacker coach Zach Kerr, who's going to be the acting defensive coordinator. When we talk about the active defensive coordinator, Austin, I know that Zach Kerr has been with the defense, who has been the acting defensive coordinator from rookie minicamp to OTAs to mandatory minicamp. But how are you feeling right now, considering that Williams is dealing with another health situation again?
I'm definitely feeling a little shaky. It's not that I wouldn't trust our middle linebacker coach. Who'd you say? What's it, Kerr? Or
it's Kerr.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I wouldn't trust him. He obviously has experience this offseason when Terrell Williams had health scares earlier on, and he had to be absent from practices. He stepped in, right? So there definitely is already the history there, and so you can see that there's probably a trust within the players. It's not the same as say he was there this whole offseason and then now he goes down and we didn't have anybody filling in prior, and maybe then I'd be a little more worried. I am still worried just because you hire Terrell Williams to come on as your defensive coordinator to call the defensive plays essentially. And, somebody who Vrabel has experience with in Tennessee, somebody who proved himself coaching up the defensive line over in Detroit. And, he was expected to be the forefront play caller and, just cover the entire defense here in New England. So not having who you really need. Like, we're a defensive structured team. Not having that guy, I think, really hurts us. So we'll see how this guy can come in and try and cover up some of the things, but I don't know as far as when Terrell Williams will be back. I hope it's soon, but I'd be more concerned about what does his health mean for years moving forward. Are we looking at, is this a one and done year with Terrell Williams just because of his health and what he can do?
Yeah. So I'm looking doing a deep dive on Zach Core. We all know him as like the inside linebackers coach, but if we look deeper into his resume, I would say he actually worked with Mike Vrabel, not as like a defensive line coach, but as like a coaching assistant. And during his time with the Tennessee Titans as like his inside linebackers assistant, Zach Kerr coached up Aziz Al-Shaair, who played greater than 97% of the team snaps, leading the teams with 163 total tackles, ranking 5th in the NFL. So basically, he has worked with some of like the inside linebackers coaches in the for the Tennessee Titans. So that's really good. He has also worked with Zach Cunningham. He has worked with David Long Jr. He's worked with Dylan Cole, Monty Rice, who we could have re-signed, and then Jack Gibbons. So basically, they were ranked first in rushing defense. So that's something positive you will like to hear from Zach Kerr, especially when he does have connections with Mike Vrabel. But last season, he was with the New York Giants. So basically, there was a connection with him and Ryan Cowden because Ryan Cowden was the advisor to the general manager for the New York Giants. And I'm thinking, oh, the Giants suck. Oh, they had a losing record. But nonetheless, the Giants, they ranked 8th in opponent passing yards allowed. In addition, he was part of a group finished in the top half of the league in defensive red zone touchdown rate, 53.75. So at least there are some positive takes with Zach Kerr and when it comes to working with the defense in there. But do you think, Austin, that Zach Kerr, compared to Terrell Williams being in the booth, do you think he'd be like calling plays on the field or would be similar to Terrell Williams' position, which is calling plays up in the booth?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question to pose. That's something I was thinking about leading up into this week once we, got the news, and then thinking about the show tonight is, how does that dynamic work? Because like you said, Terrell Williams is used to being up in the booth and, getting that eagle's eye view and being able to call the defense that way. I'm not sure if this guy handles his play calling the same exact way, if he is going to want that eagle eye view, or if he feels more that he needs to, have that interplayer coach connection and be down on the field in it, telling people what to do and, just being more personal like a Josh McDaniels. Because like, I would say like Josh McDaniels, like there's offensive coordinators too that, prefer to be up in the, booth. I'm not sure what the preference is, but we'll see. To me, he seems more like a hands-on, so I would assume he's maybe on the sidelines, but it just totally depends because Terrell Williams in the booth. I assume all the defensive guys are kind of in the booth, so could just be he's in the booth. I don't think it'll impact it that much, to be honest with you. I think they're going to put together a game plan and they're going to do what they can, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Okay. Considering that people were rashing on the defense because they allowed 20 points, but the only reason the defense was like this was because the defense had to take care of so many of the offensive mishaps. And we all know that in the previous episode, recapping the whole Raiders game, we had so many issues with the offense, which led to the defense playing in the most precarious situations. And we know that the biggest improvement for when we head over to South Beach on Sunday is how we can make adjustments, especially in the second half, because we look really good especially in like the majority of the second quarter. But ever since the whole interception, the whole vibe changed. Everybody was playing gimpy. Everybody was lost. Everybody had no direction. There was like lack of focus, lack of preparation. There was like no adjustment made. And Pete Carroll took advantage of all of the Patriots' weaknesses and would that be the same for Mike McDaniel's Dolphins? And we will definitely get into that. But let's now talk about the injury report because, oh my gosh, things are interesting with the New England Patriots injury report. So it was confirmed per Mike Vrabel that Christian Gonzalez will be out again, but this time Keon White will be out for next week game, but that is for an illness. So I want to ask you this, guys. About Christian Gonzalez, are you slowly kind of concerned about Christian Gonzalez and if he should be paid like the highest cornerback, or it's too early to tell?
It's way too early to tell at this point. And the look at my face doesn't look like I'm concerned about Gonzalez is out. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. People who are people are talking about Gonzalez injury. Stop overreacting, for hell's sake. He's trying to stay healthy so he can go into the right time to be in the game. Like, wait till like weeks 5 to 8 at the best minimal spot, and see if Gonzalez could be questionable or possibly start a snap in the NFL. I'm not even worried about Gonzalez. I'm not. And as far as this contract section goes, way too early to tell here. Way too damn early.
Interesting. How about you, Austin?
Yeah, I don't think I'm worried at all about Gonzalez. It's more of a just I think we want to see him on the field because he is our best defensive player. So the fact that he's not on the field, and we've kind of had it went from it's only a grade 1 strain on his hamstring to maybe it's a grade 2, and maybe it is a grade 2, but they're treating it like a 3, so that just means he gets like extra rest, because a grade 3 would mean he's out 8 weeks, maybe 10. So I'm hoping it's not that, because then we'd be looking at maybe mid-season by the time we see Gonzo. But at the end of the day, you want your star player to be able to just get the healing he needs to then be able to come onto the field and play at that star level. I don't want to rush Gonzo back and 1, re-injure something that could have been prevented, or 2, play at a subpar level where it's almost like, why do we even have him on the field in the first place if he can't play like how we know he can? But I think he'll be back, like Thomas said, probably next game. That's what I'm kind of gearing towards. I think they just wanted to give him extra time as a precaution. And I think we definitely need him if we plan on doing anything this year, to be honest.
Interesting. Also, Mullen has a question and I know we're not doctors here, as far as we know, we're analysts for like a football team, but she wants to know, what is the difference between a grade 1 injury, a grade 2 injury, and a grade 3 injury?
Go ahead.
A grade 1 is kind of just like a slight tear, to my understanding, and it's something that can be recovered in about 1 to 2, like 2 to 4, like somewhere around there, 2 to 4 weeks, 1 to 4 weeks, something like that. It's not really major. Something like a grade 2 is more of like a 4 to 8 week injury recovery. It's not a complete tear, but it's definitely a bit more of a tear than a grade 1. And then, to my understanding, a grade 3 is pretty much almost a complete tear in your hamstring, and that would be 8 to 12 weeks, I believe, which could be the whole season. That's why it's just one of those things. Like, I just hope we're getting the right information that he is gonna, eventually come back, and that it does really affect his contract, because we were talking about, okay, this is the year that he comes in, he's gonna perform, and he's gonna get that Sauce Gardner money. And as far as I'm concerned, like, this is a big setback for him getting big money like Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with like Gonzo and his injury. However, there will be. I'm a little concerned of considering that he hasn't practiced with the team for a month and a half. So that kind of concerns me. But at the same time, I'm not technically concerned, because he was active for OTAs. He was active for mandatory minicamp. So I'm not entirely concerned, but especially with the pads, we haven't seen him practicing with the pads on for like 5 weeks. So that kind of does concern me. But at the same time, if he can stay healthy to its full potential, as Thomas alluded to, then I think that I think Gonzo should be fine. But let's just hope that this injury doesn't like affect him performance-wise, because we all want him at his best. We want him locking up wide receiver ones at his finest, because we all know the history with Gonzo up against Tyreek Hill, and we would have loved to see all of this, but scheme-wise, it's going to be different without Gonzo on the field. Speaking of defense, let's talk about Keon White and his illness. Will that affect anything with the defensive line, or I think we should be fine? I'll ask you this, Austin.
It's definitely an interesting question, because obviously Keon White was kind of a staple of our defense a year ago, and now he's kind of, pushed down the depth chart a little bit. Didn't we just release Jeremiah Farms Jr. as well, right? So
he's now part of the practice squad.
So that's where it's like, I'm almost wondering, are they elevating Gregory to maybe fill that Keon role while he's sick? I don't know exactly. I don't think it affects us too much. It seemed like he was playing kind of like a rotational thing instead of like a starter like he was last year. I mean, Keon White is a good player. I'm not going to say he's like some like game wrecker. He hasn't necessarily shown that yet in his career. I think everybody was expecting him to take that next step this year. And unfortunately, like, I don't want to say he was a non-factor last week, but I didn't see him getting in on a lot of stuff. And then obviously this week he's sick with illness and can't play, unfortunately. But I mean, I guess you'd just like to see him throughout the season this year, continue to take steps. But I think the other edge rushers are stepping up. I mean, Harold Landry leads the league in sacks right now. Like, when's the last time you could have said that about a Patriot? Probably like prime Matt Judon, right?
Yeah,
so
right. Currently the lead NFL leader in sacks with 2.5. Thanks to also with Caleb on Chason, who I think that he has the potential to be like a staple for this defense. Because if we lose Caleb on Chason, it's going to be ugly for the defense. But we could see like Elijah Ponder, the undrafted rookie, potentially stepping up, or maybe Anthony Jennings playing into a new role. So things can be a possibility for like the defense, and see how Zach Kerr can like rearrange some of the pieces to the puzzle. But yeah, I think Keon White should be fine. I think it's just, if it's like a sickness or like you just have like a fever or maybe something like that, it's not that fine. It's not going to like mentally affect the defense. I know that Joshua Farmer is taking over the role for Jeremiah Farms, as far as I know, so I'm not concerned about that. With the questionable, so Marte Mapu has like a neck injury from what I can tell, and then Morgan Moses, right, who has like a foot injury. Could you potentially see? Hold on, let me just highlight this. Could you potentially see Marcus Bryant playing right tackle? Because I think like during his time at SMU, we saw Marcus Bryant playing right tackle, but ever since he went over to Mizzo, he's been playing left tackle, all because of all that hype with Armand Membu, who was potentially the best tackle in the league so far by immobilizing TJ Watt. So what are your thoughts on Marcus Bryant potentially stepping up to that role for Morgan Moses this upcoming week? Maybe.
I think he's like the prototypical size you'd expect out of a right tackle, right? I think he's like 6'7", and that's comparable to like Joel. Obviously, I'm not saying anything like, oh, they're the same player. I am a fan of Marcus Bryant, and I think it would be nice. Like, if we're going to get him in some reps, like, this would be the game to do, because like we were saying, like Miami, I was predicting Miami to finish last in the division. They've proven last week that they're at least bottom 5 in the entire league just off of that. I mean, we'll see how they're like bounce back, but to me, they don't really have much of a pass rush. So I think it'd be nice to get Marcus Bryant just some experience if Moses is to, miss some time because of his foot. To my understanding, like last week, Moses held up really solid in the first half. And then towards the second half, it kind of just seemed like he didn't have his stamina with him, and like Max Crosby was just blowing by him every play in the second half. So I mean, maybe it's a case of, get the young guy in, or just maybe we need to rotate more so that Moses is able to get a breather, is able to play at the level that he needs to play. I do understand, Moses, I think we all understand Moses is at the tail end of his career. Likely, I know we signed him to a 3-year deal. Maybe that 3-year deal was just to even get him in the building. He could very well, not be on this team next year if we decide to draft a tackle. But yeah, I think bottom line, get Marcus Bryant some experience.
Yeah, especially when we're going up against the defensive line, who is, I would like to categorize it as medically done, because their edge rushers have been plagued with injuries, like Bradley Chubb, like Jalen Phillips, who is recovered from an ACL. Both Bradley Chubb also recovering from an ACL. And then you have Matthew Judon, who's on his last legs. And then you have Chop Robinson, who I don't think has like the full potential. So I hope this could be like an easier matchup, but at the same time, we're heading to South Beach, and we know how good Miami is when they play against us at South Beach. So this could potentially be interesting, but we also have Marte Mapu being questionable. Will that change anything? Would we see like Gibbons playing more of the snaps than Marte Mapu? Because it feels like, I look at some of like the grades, and let me pull up the grades, because some of the PFF grades won't mean much, but at the same time, they're kind of worrisome. So let's just let me see if I can find it. So Gibbons played really well, 63.0. Spillane, unfortunately, 43.9. Marte Mapu, I don't think Marte Mapu played that game, so I don't think it will impact any of it, but will it like impact like the linebacker room, or we're just fine with like Gibbons and Spillane and Tabai?
We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine. I don't know. Like you said, if Marte Mapu didn't really play last week, then I don't think he's going to make much of an impact this week. I mean, same thing as Gonzo. It's like, just heal up, just try and get back on the field and, play the right way. I do think he'd probably be one of the better, coverage backers that we have. So that would have been nice to just have against, Tyreek Hill and Waddle. But, I mean, Tyreek Hill seems to be a shell of himself. Now he's dealing with legal battles with baby mamas and whatnot. And, Waddle's coming off an injury. Their tight ends aren't anything special. I mean,
Darren Waller, it was reported that Darren Waller hasn't been practicing with the team as of late, and that is kind of concerning for the tight end room, because you trade away Jonnu Smith to the Steelers, who I don't think needed a tight end, because they have like Freiermuth, and they have who is it?
They have Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. They had Donald Parham, but he got injured for the season.
And now Jonnu Smith. And we're definitely going up against the Steelers next week, who we have a history with at home. So, and I know you're going to that game, so maybe you can give an analysis on that. So that should be fun. But
I'm not even looking forward to that game, honestly.
I told you, like, after I saw the Steelers play the way they did, dang, I really just paid tickets to go watch the Pats lose to the Steelers. Not really. I think we have a shot, but the Steelers do look like they went all in for a reason. I mean, after week 1, it's like a way too early prediction, but they look good.
Who do the Steelers? Oh, wait. No, whatever. They're facing the Seahawks. Yeah, Seahawks. They're going to win that game, honestly. Like, they're going to win this game.
It could be an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting matchups if it's not primed. Non-primetime exciting game, I would categorize it. But let's not waste any time, and now let's dive into like the enemy front lines with the Miami Dolphins. Let me pull up their depth chart, and we'll start off with their offense. And oh my gosh, the offense looked atrocious against Indiana, against the Colts defense, and their defensive coordinator was the Bengals defensive coordinator last year, got fired, and now hired to be the defensive coordinator for Colts after firing their defensive coordinator Gus Bradley, but we're looking at the Dolphins right there, and oh my gosh, they looked horrible. Tua did not look like himself in that previous game, so this is going to be interesting to see how we're going up against the Dolphins at home. This is their home opener, and man, Tua looked bad, I gotta say. But what are your thoughts on Tua now, Austin? Especially after his piss poor performance with 2 interceptions, 1 fumble loss, and the stupidest thing ever was not being accountable for your mistakes during that press conference. What? How would you feel if you're like a Miami Dolphin fan, even though we're not Dolphins fans?
I would feel pretty bad about it if my quarterback turned the ball over, and what did you say? 2 picks and a fumble, and it's just like,
and 1 touchdown that was in garbage time.
Yeah, like you're making that touchdown to just make it look like, hey, we tried, guys. But the fact, like, I don't know. I feel like that whole locker room is just a cancer, and I don't know who. It's probably stemming from Tyreek Hill, but the fact that like Tua feels like he can just, oh yeah, well, it's not my fault. It's this guy's, or it's that guy's, or it's that guy's. Like at the end of the day, one thing, and I know it's like the pass, but Mac Jones, at least, even when like the team was sucking ass. Every time, every press conference after the game, it was always like, this one's on me. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. That's like how you should handle yourself. Drake May's proven that, like even there's been games where, Drake May makes the final mistake, like the pick in overtime against the Titans. Like he shouldn't have thrown that, and he takes accountability. And then there's other times where, other players mess up where like Butte's going for a catch and it tips and, gets picked off. And then he has to go into the press conference afterwards and be like, I got to throw a better ball, even though Butte probably should have caught that, right? So it's just about accountability. And I just feel like that entire Dolphins team is injury-ridden and just has zero accountability.
Yeah, and the worst part is they have another quarterback who is not accountable at all, and that is Zach, and I'm not going to say the other word, Zach Wilson, because, my gosh, Zach Wilson will always be a meme, but I can't believe that Dolphins have two quarterbacks behind them who are incapable of elevating this team. Like you have the rookie Quinn Ewers, who was the starter for the Texas Longhorns, and then you have Zach Wilson, who has been nothing but a disappointment ever since he was drafted by the New York Jets. So this is actually going to be a fiesta, especially going up against Tua turn the ball over. But let's also take a look at their wide receiver room, and oh my gosh, they looked atrocious, especially Tyreek Hill, as you alluded to, Austin, especially that with all these legal issues and all the on the field issues and off the issues, he only racked up 40 yards, 0 touchdowns, only 4 receptions. What has been going on with Tyreek Hill, man? He used to be first team All-Pro back in 2023, and then last season he regressed because of that wrist injury and also the legal issues. But this is like worse coming out of from Tyreek Hill. Like he racked up, let me see, he was 4 yards, 40 touchdowns, allowed 1 interception, 5 yards after catch, 8.8 yards before catch per reception, 35 total yards passes traveling in the air before getting caught. It doesn't matter, but Tyreek Hill looks trash, man. Considering that we don't have Gonzo anymore, who would be a perfect matchup to go up against Tyreek Hill with the leftover cornerbacks we have?
Alex Austin.
Maybe.
I was going to say Marcus Jones just because I feel like the speed's there and the height's similar.
So you wouldn't see Marcus Jones going up against Jalen Waddle, is that?
I mean, that's the thing. Like you look at the Dolphins' offense, and like on paper, their receivers blow our receivers out of the water. Not even a question. Like obviously, we're looking at literally probably the fastest wide receiver room in NFL history right there with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And not only fastest, but like up until, recently, one of the more efficient, wide receivers. So, I mean, I even like Malik Washington as a third option. Like, and even Nick Westbrook-Akine, like, I don't think their receivers are bad. Like on paper, their receivers are good. It's just all the off the field shit that they're dealing with. It just keeps dragging them down. And I don't know if like Tua's not going to be able to stay healthy. Like I literally see a world where the Dolphins, by week, like it's kind of being said in the chat, week 5. That's kind of what I was thinking, like kind of mid-season, they just acknowledge like, okay, this is another losing season. We're going to cut ties with McDaniels. We're going to trade away any assets we can get. I know Tyreek Hill's name's been floating around, going to like LA or back to the Chiefs or, just offloading anything that you can just to get stuff to build up for the next, head coach. I mean, the right guard and the right tackle here from the injury report look like they're not going to be playing for weeks, which is why they had to call up Cole Strange, who was on our team earlier. And we all know the blunder of a draft pick that guy was. So, I mean,
and how much of a reach he was for sure.
It's just, yeah, I mean, on paper, we should definitely, our pass rush should get to the quarterback, and that's how we're going to shut him down. Like my biggest concern going into this game was the Tua Tagovailoa capability, like of the RPO. I feel like he runs the RPO very efficiently. Where like they could just be like, watch this key. If he does that, you hand it off. If he doesn't do that, then you throw it to the slant right there. Like, and we got eaten alive in previous years by the RPO with this Dolphins team. So, I mean, definitely look for that. But I don't know. The team doesn't scare me. But again, like until we can prove that we can go out there and take it to them and get the run game going and shit like that, like. Not counting anything out.
Then again, Mike Vrabel has been undefeated so far up against Tua. They're currently 2-0. The second one they got away with it only because of so many blunders from the Dolphins. That's more Dolphins shooting themselves in the foot, allowing Mike Vrabel's Titans during his final year as a head coach for the Titans to squeak that with Will Mayo-loving Levis. I can't believe it, but I just hope that Mike Vrabel makes the right decisions, especially both on offense and defense, and then get his third win up against Tua and have our first win against Tua, turn the ball over, because the last time we beat the Dolphins was when they had Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. So, and then the last time we played them at home was when they had Ryan Fitzpatrick. So this should be really interesting. So
yeah, I think Tua's 7-0 against us. So
yeah, I freaking hate it. But let's look back into the injury report briefly for a second, and let's look into the Dolphins side of their injury report. So we all know who is out. We all know that, as we alluded to, Austin Jackson will be out. James Daniels, is he going to be like out for the rest of the season, or?
From what I read, James Daniels is going to miss at least 7 weeks.
Okay, so that's not looking good for the Dolphins. They're also losing Benito Jones, and then the biggest meme in the cornerback room, Storm Duck. You're done at cornerback, basically, because look what you have at cornerback now that you lost Storm Duck. Well, we'll get to that. You have to deal with this guy. I think Rizzo Douglas is still okay, but not like what he was for the Buffalo Bills or maybe the other teams. And then Jack Jones, who we have a history with. But how does it feel that you lost Storm Duck, who is your wide receiver one? No, I mean your cornerback one for the team after you lost. I don't know, your corner. It's like you traded away Jalen Ramsey for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who could be a booster for the safety. But other than that, what is Miami doing at corner now? You did bring a Rasul Douglas, but that's not good enough.
Nope. Not clear enough. This is probably, in my opinion, the worst quarterback room in the league. Or possibly the worst of the division. And hell, I'm gonna say something crazy. I think the Jets quarterback room is definitely better than Miami's.
I don't disagree because Sauce Gardner is bad. As much as I like to rag on Sauce Gardner because of his miserable performance against the miserable performance last season. So this is going to be interesting for the cornerback room because we have better wide receivers. We have better matchups for our wide receivers against their cornerbacks. So this is going to be interesting. But nevertheless, we don't underestimate the defensive line, who didn't produce much last season because overall they were where are they ranked? They were third. Oh my god, I can't even find. They scored. They were 31st in the offense and then 29th in defense. So that's not good if you're the Miami Dolphins. And that is against the Colts. So you're screwed right there, basically, if you're a Miami Dolphin fan. But if we take a look at this now, let's get back to the depth chart for a bit. So let's take a look at Devon Achane for a second, who is going to be their running back one up against Ashton Genty last week. We did do a good job of holding him, but we didn't do enough when it comes to stopping Ashton Genty. And the worst part is scoring a touchdown on us. But how do we stop Devon Achane if you're Zach Core and that Patriots vaunted defense, I'd say?
I think you're probably going to attempt to come out in some 4-3 sets and just have a heavy presence in the run, and you're going to hope that some of those run stoppers can get to the quarterback sometimes too. But to me, Achane's probably their most dynamic player, and I think he's on a different level than Genty, at least at this point in his career, because obviously Genty with all the hype, but even last week, Genty really didn't rush for anything. He just got the touchdown that was very close to the goal line. To me, Achane, I think the thing that made the Dolphins offense so scary in the past is Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Achane. They have the speed to where if one guy just messes up the coverage or the angle of the tackle, they're gone. They're gone to the house. They're scoring. They're just that fast. Like I said, Tyreek Hill's kind of feels like a shell of himself. Jalen Waddle's coming off an injury. To me, Achane is going to be the guy that we try to primarily stop in this game. And I would say, they got to try and beat us through the air, basically. And that's why it kind of hurts not having Gonzo. But I'm confident that the team can, keep up with the pass rush and, stop the run.
Interesting. Considering that you said that they're going to do a lot of passing, especially for the Dolphins, I would say becoming how fast of an offense they are. They only passed it for 133 yards against the Colts. They only rushed for 78, which is a lot more than what the Patriots ran, and that is 60 yards. So there's a difference between us and the Dolphins. Red zone, they scored 1 for 1. They were 5 and 10 when it comes to third down efficiency. They're 1 and 2 when it comes to fourth down efficiency. Does that mean anything, or that's just because it was a fluke game for the Dolphins, or that could be potentially one of the worst games for the Dolphins, I would say?
It definitely could be a fluke. I mean, it's week 1, right? I take week 1 with a grain of salt. I know a lot of Patriots fans are, like I said, because of the hype, all up in arms, we should have won, and, swearing up and down every which way to Sunday that, this team sucks and blah, 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 blah. It's too early. Last year, it was the same thing. It was us overreacting with the Bengals being like, oh, my gosh, we took it to the Bengals. We're going to make the playoffs. Gerard Mayo, let's go. And, we ended up
good against the Seahawks.
Yeah, we went on a 6 or 7 game losing streak before we even won our next game, and that was against the Jets. So,
but thankfully, that second game, it basically ended the Jets. But we're not talking about that Jets. We'll save that for week 11. But when we take a look at this tight end, also when we took a look at this tight end room, there's no one that impressed me. And Darren Waller, as we mentioned before, he is going to be out again. So basically, this will not mean much for the tight end room because I have no clue who Tanner Collar is or Julian Hill is. Their tight end one was Jonnu Smith last season. Do you think that the Dolphins made a mistake by trading away Jonnu Smith to the Steelers?
Yes. No question. Trading Jonnu is probably the biggest miscue of their entire career lives. And with that, they get an F.
Exactly, because the thing with that is because Jonnu Smith had an impressive season with the Dolphins, and he got a Pro Bowl out of it. So I was kind of shocked that the Dolphins traded away Jonnu Smith to a team that is already bolstered at the tight end room. So that is going to be scary for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that's not looking good for the Dolphins, I'd say, because we're not going to do comparisons, but just from what I can tell, their tight end room looks abysmal, especially that after Julian Hill and Tanner Connor, they don't have anything much behind them. So that's going to be really interesting. But they have a fullback in Alec Ingold, and I know that they've been using a lot. Alec Ingold has been like their main fullback for the Miami Dolphins. Do you see like Alec Ingold being a threat for like the defensive line when he's basically like their fullback for the team, or not really?
I mean, I would say so. I put Alec Ingold not on the same tier, but in the same conversation of just solid fullbacks over the years. Because you look at, I mean, I think the big three are, Kyle Juszczyk, Patrick Ricard, and I would put Alec Ingold in that conversation. There's definitely other fullbacks around the league, even though fullback really isn't used as much. But these fullbacks are players that have been with those specific teams for years. So I do think Alec Ingold will make an impact in the run game. I like Alec Ingold as a player. I think he's getting a little up there in age, I believe. But I mean, like, if Ingold ever became a free agent, like in these past couple of years, like I definitely would have been on top of, bringing him into the Patriots. I like the guy as a player.
Yeah, and considering that we currently Ingold is 29 years old, so that's interesting because he was actually undrafted. He was signed to the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. Then he joined the Dolphins for 2 years, and now he's currently on a 3-contract extension. So basically, if I can do the math, that would be he will be a free agent by 2027. So we're gonna have to wait until like he's
31.
Yeah, around that. Yeah, around that age. So we would have to wait for him, or maybe if we could find a cog, or maybe if Brock Lampley stays healthy next season, he could potentially be our future fullback. If Wes Holford doesn't play well, or we don't bring back Jakob Johnson. I think we're getting too old with Jakob Johnson. But let's take a look at the offensive line, and oh my God, the offensive line looks atrocious for the Dolphins. Especially, you have somewhat of a downgrade from Torian Armstead to Patrick Paul. Patrick Paul look okay, but other than that, the right side is going to look abysmal for the offensive line. How do we apply pressure to the offensive line? I know somebody in the chat mentioned take advantage of the right side of the offensive line, but what are your thoughts on the offensive line for the Dolphins?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I feel like the Dolphins' offensive line situation right now is the same situation we were going through with our offensive line last year. I think our offensive line is a lot more secured up. We have somebody like Will Campbell at left tackle. We got somebody like Jared Wilson at left guard who converted from center but has shown experience at the guard positions. We have, a proven veteran, albeit not a high caliber one, but Garrett Bradbury. Onwenu, one of the top right guards in all of football, and then Moses, who's just another, proven veteran, but on the tail end of his career. Looking at this Dolphins O-line, I literally could not tell you who Aaron Brewer is. James Daniels is hurt for 7 weeks. Austin Jackson is looking like he's hurt for 7 weeks. That's the reason they had to call up Cole Strange from their practice squad after basically signing him after we cut him. Jonah Savanaia, we had an opportunity to draft him, I guess. That was like a conversation back in April where the Patriots were on a fence between him or Henderson. And then when the Dolphins traded up to then draft Jonah, it was pretty clear cut that we were going to take Henderson. And I can't remember if Patrick Paul is also a rookie.
No, he was drafted last year. And
last year.
He was drafted. He was let me see what school he went to. Patrick Paul played for
Houston.
Okay, Houston. He was a second round for Houston. Okay. And would that affect them much considering that they had Terrion Armstead for so long? Now they're stuck with Patrick Paul, who I think he looked okay for the team, but would that be a downgrade for the left tackle or not really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's only his second year and he's a second-round pick, I mean, it's Jonah's first year and he was a second-round pick. So you're talking 2 second-round picks fairly early in their careers, an unknown center, and then both your starting right guard and right tackle are injured for multiple weeks, and you got to call up somebody like Cole Strange and whoever else you're going to call up or sub in at that. Like, I don't know. If I'm our defensive coach, obviously Terrell Williams is out, but if I'm Kurt, then I'm literally telling my defensive line to go out there and kill them because they are literally, I don't know, to me, the defensive line should just get to the quarterback every play looking at this offensive line that we're about to have to go against.
Interesting. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, only one like and there are like two to like 5 views, but please, if you haven't already, please make sure that you smash the like button, hit subscribe, share this live stream to all of your friends who might be interested of wanting to see this live stream. If you haven't already, it would be free to help with the support and get us to 100 subscribers so we can do a Q&A live stream and then do some giveaways, do a call-in show, all good stuff. And as usual, please post in your questions and comments in the YouTube chat if you want to like get involved with like the whole spiel and all of that. So let's now look into the defense. And oh my gosh, we all thought that the defensive line would look destructive, but they allowed 33 points from the Indianapolis Colts. What does that say if you're the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins? You basically allowed 33 points. Daniel Jones scoring 33 points. Let me look at all the stats from that game. I'm going to go on through ESPN, and then I'll take a look at the team stats. They allowed 418 total yards. That includes passing and rushing. 262 passing yards allowed. 156 rushing yards allowed. And 0 turnovers made by this defense. What does that say for the Miami Dolphins defense and how we can take advantage of it?
We're just going to have to take advantage of bad football, essentially. I mean, I thought going into this year, the defense was going to be somewhat their strong suit. And then, with multiple injuries to that defense, I mean, their corner room is decimated. Their linebacker/edge room is just, beaten. And it's just, I don't know. All signs point that the Patriots should win this game. And, that's what I'm sticking with. It's just if the Patriots are going to show up is the question. But the biggest plus on this Dolphins defense is the safety room. Basically, I would say I like their safeties. But, yeah, their corners, barren, linebackers, nobody crazy. I don't know. I'm not if Danny Pennies can go and put up that many points against the Dolphins team, in his first year with the Colts, then why can't Drake May in his second year do the same thing? That's kind of just how I'm looking at this defense.
Yeah, it seems like Josh McDaniels has been having issues, especially going up against this Dolphins team for a while now, even during his time as the offensive coordinator, because when Tua was the quarterback and Josh McDaniels was still the offensive coordinator, we didn't produce anything much. or basically that's all on Belichick. But even without Belichick and without Josh McDaniels, we didn't do any favors either. So this could be interesting to see how well we fare against the Miami Dolphins, especially down at South Beach. But when we see the matchup between this offensive line and defensive line, where is this one weakness that the Miami Dolphins defense has? Like, I bet you their starting defensive lineup is going to be Jalen Phillips, Zach Zietler, who I would assume it's going to be between Jordan Phillips and I would assume it's going to be Kenneth Grant, and then it's going to be Bradley Chubb. Where do you think the weakness is going to be?
I think it's going to be the interior D-line is just going to suffer because, to my understanding, too, Benito Jones is out with an oblique injury for a couple of weeks as well. Like, this Dolphins roster is just dealing with tons of injuries. So, but I do think the interior D-line is going to be a weak spot, and I really hope McDaniels identifies that, and we could maybe get some zone gap run schemes going, and get Mondre feasting up the center of that field.
Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of the rushing attack, and I think that this was the biggest issue that the Patriots had, especially with the offense. We didn't produce anything much. Is there a reason for why Josh McDaniels didn't cook up something for the offense, and why the rushing attack looked abysmal? Because we only racked up 60 yards, and it seems like when we give Stevenson opportunities, he looked. Thankfully, he didn't fumble the ball, but he did not produce much. 7 carries for 15 yards, while for TreVeyon Henderson, if we gave him more opportunities, hold on, let me just pull up the stats let me pull up the box scores from the Patriots. If I look up on Pro Football Reference, if I pull up the stats for the rushing offense, who looked abysmal last season, who looked abysmal in the previous game, Ramondre Stevenson only 7 attempts for 15 yards, while TreVeyon Henderson 5 attempts for 227 yards. Basically, Stevenson needs to do a better job of producing much. Should we have TreVeyon Henderson to be the running back one? Because it seems like Ramondre Stevenson hasn't been producing much. Thankfully, he did not fumble, but it would have been better if he ran for more than 15 yards.
Most likely they might gonna give the more reps to Henderson than Stevenson is gonna do for us. Yeah, but most likely the run game needs to be more produced in this game, honestly. But the reason we haven't produced more run game is because McDaniels wanted to see more of Drake May. And like I said last week, do not play hero ball if you're a Drake May at this point.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully that we didn't allow any turnover worthy plays. But yeah, I don't want to see Drake May playing hero ball, especially. I get it. It was week 1 and you're kind of get used to the Josh McDaniels offense, but you can do a better job of not playing hero ball. And that's what I hope. And that's what I hope for this Patriots offense, because everybody has been saying that the play calling is vanilla, mashed potatoes, meat. It was just vanilla, I would say. I want to ask you this, Austin. How can Josh McDaniels improve his play calling? Can he stop calling up plays that are screen passes? Because it seems like against the Raiders, we saw a lot of screen passes instead of more diverse with the play calling.
Yeah, I think history's proven too with Josh McDaniels that with Brady, there was a lot of misdirect and then dump off to the running back for a screen on 3rd and forever, right? And we always would convert back then, but in recent years, he tried to do the same thing with Mac Jones, where it'd be a 3rd and long and it's time for a screen. I think we need to get out of that mindset, that mantra of every time it's a 3rd and whatever situation that we look to just do a little dink and pray that the blocking holds and somebody breaks it for crazy long. we need to be doing what the Chiefs do and what the other good football teams do is just air it out and try to get that first. Like, I think the play calling last week was very poor. I think in order for them to succeed, we need Drake May designed runs. I'm just going to be frank. Like, I don't understand why Drake May only had 11 rushing yards last week. Makes no sense. He should be scrambling upwards of 60 a game, to be honest with you. We need more running. I think Henderson is not going to succeed without Mondre, and I think it's going to work the other way around, or at least a mixture of Antonio Gibson. It's just one doesn't succeed without the other. You need both.
That's true.
They just complement each other very well. So they need to set up run schemes. The offensive line needs to be better at blocking in those schemes to be able to open up gaps and get those people to the second level, because a lot of those runs were just being shut down basically a yard from the line of scrimmage, not giving any chance to the running backs. So we definitely need to scheme that. And then I just want to see a lot of pre-snap motion, and I want to see a lot more of Drake May just reading the defense and, killing plays and, changing it up, identifying the coverages. Like, I just think if we start making those small adjustments, we're going to be so much better for it. I do really think we need the pre-snap motions, like constant, whoever's playing the slot, like classic Edelman. It felt like almost every play he would start out wide outside of the, X receiver, and then Brady would like snap or like hit his leg or his own leg to signal like, okay, go in motion. Edelman would come in motion. You could see if the corner on him is playing zone or man by how they react. And then it was almost always a crosser or a zig or a corner, depending on where the drops and coverage are. And like, we just need smart football players that, one, the wide receivers can identify those drops in coverage, and then we just need the motion, so it makes it easier for May to identify what coverage he's going to have to go against.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like not only that, I want to see Drake May mentally bouncing back, or basically the team bouncing back, especially after that interception, which I think it was like an overthrow to Stephon Diggs. I believe that this team needs to do a better job of mentally adjusting, especially after that horrible interception. I just felt like the team gave up. The defense allowed more plays up until like the fourth quarter, where we only scored 3 points. We went 3 and let me just pull up this. In the previous game against the Raiders, we went 3 and hold on, let me take a look. We were like 3 and out for the majority of it. So ever since that interception, 3 and out, 6 and out, 5 and out, and then got to the field goal. That's how embarrassing that it was ever since that interception. And we do not want to see any of that, especially both in the run game and the passing game. Also, the one thing I want Drake May to focus on, making these accurate passes, because we saw a lot of we saw Pop not looking like the Pop we wanted to see out of him, because we gave Pop threw him the 7 targets and only caught 2. Do you think Pop needs to bounce back, especially that he had 2 receptions for -2 yards?
I think 100% he's got to bounce back. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Drake May gave him perfect passes, because obviously I think there's 1 or 2 that Drake May ended up sailing over Pop Douglas's head. And unfortunately, that's just going to be the risk that has to be taken sometimes with a player that short is, sometimes those balls are going to sail right over him. But I would like Douglas, to improve. He did have the really nice touchdown catch. It was the only touchdown that we ended up scoring. But the fact that Douglas scores our only touchdown and ends up with -2 points or -2 yards, and Drake May ended up throwing a pass to himself and having 2 receiving yards to finish the game. There should never be a game and somehow the quarterback has more receiving yards than one of the starting wide receivers. Like, I'm sorry, that can't happen.
Yeah, exactly. I just felt like we can't just. I love Pop, and I think Pop can have the potential, as long as Drake May can make these accurate throws, or maybe if Pop can be creative with his route running, it would have been a lot different, I would say, because he is a 3rd-year wide receiver for this Patriots. And the last thing I want to see is for him to make another mistake, for him to being like, oh, is he going to be on the hot seat for potentially not getting like his contract extension or something like that. But yeah, I hope Douglas improves next week against the Dolphins, especially where you're going up against a cornerback room that is non-invisible, because Jack Jones, ever since he was with the Raiders, he allowed 10 touchdowns. Let me look up this defense. Let me see. Yeah, so yeah, Storm Duck allowed a touchdown. That's impressive. So Jack Jones allowed only 48 yards. Storm Duck allowed 51 yards. Rasul Douglas allowed 56 yards. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting for the Dolphins, especially that Jack Jones. What is our history with? Mind telling the audience a history with Jack Jones, considering that he's now with the Dolphins. We haven't seen much ever since we cut him from the Patriots. Like, what are like the perfect matchups, especially against this cornerback room with our wide receivers, and how we can like take advantage of it?
Yeah, our history of Jack Jones is kind of, I believe we drafted him in the 22 draft, 23, something like that.
21. Yeah, 22 draft.
Yeah, so he was somebody that we got in the later rounds. Is that the same draft we got Marcus Jones as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So like at first, Jack Jones, incredible player for the like position that we drafted him at. I was very happy to have him on our team. He was, another starting caliber corner. Like at the beginning of him being on our team, we were sitting here going like, how does Belichick keep doing it? Like Belichick can't draft offense to save his life, but for some reason he can find Crumbum McGee from Detroit College, that's Division III or something, and the dude will come here and ball out. I don't know, but now we ended up I think we cut him actually because of legal issues, and then he ended up signing with the Raiders, had a short stint with the Raiders, and now he falls onto the Dolphins. I still think he's a good corner. I still think he's going to give us, some headaches on Sunday. But if he's the only one we have to worry about, which it kind of does look like that, because, Rasul Douglas is another, good corner. But besides that, I think Juju Brents is a rookie. Storm Duck's out. It says Ethan Bonner did not participate, I think. So
Ethan Bonner, they have Jason Marshall.
Yeah, they're pretty thin there. Like I'm almost thinking, are they going to have the safeties step in at corner for some plays or something? Like I'm literally looking at their depth chart, and it's just either IR or out or injured. Like it's bad.
It's really bad. Also, the linebacker room, Tyrell Dotson, he's like fifth when it comes to like the run defense. Other than that, they have Willie Gay Jr., who is with the Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Brooks, he's really good. He's really good. But other than that, I feel like the secondary outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, it looks barren. I'm telling you, like Rasul Douglas, he will give you some of that energy, but I don't think like he's going to be like an X factor for the secondary. So this is going to be interesting, especially when we have our wide receivers going up against this cornerback room. I would see Kayshon Boutte going up against Jack Jones, and then maybe Stephon Diggs going up against Rasul Douglas. That could be a possibility. Because Kayshon Boutte, I'm telling you, he looked like somebody said it through the Boston media. I think it was Albert. I think Tom Curran said he is like a wide receiver 1B. Do you think that Kayshon Boutte has the potential to be like a wide receiver 1, or we still have to wait and see?
We'll just wait and see here. But to me, the wide receiver 1 is still Stephon Diggs. And it's always be, in my opinion, Stephon Diggs.
You know me, I've been the biggest advocate for Kayshon Boutte since coming out of college. I think he's going to be our wide receiver 1 this year. I was high on Diggs. I still am. I think Diggs is going to have a good year. It's just I think the prior chemistry that Drake May built with Boutte last year leading into this year, I mean, what did he have, 9 catches or 7 catches for over 100 yards? I mean,
he had 6. So he was targeted 8 times. He had 6 receptions for 103 yards. The longest reception was 24 yards.
You know how crazy that is to think when last year he had just barely over 500 for the whole season. Yeah, get ready. Get ready. This guy is gonna make the people in wheelchairs stand up, not Javon Baker.
No,
So.
no, not Javon Baker. No, because I was high on Kayshon Boutte. If it wasn't for like those gambling issues or like the injury issues or like the combine or like his combine performance, he has the potential to be a first round pick. But I think that he's going to be I think we got him as a steal for a 6th round pick, especially that Kayshon Boutte at the time when he was at LSU was better than Malik Neighbors, better than Brian Thomas Jr., even better than the late Kyron Lacey. I don't think Kyron Lacey is with Kayshon Boutte, but nevertheless, when you only catch 6 out of 8 yards, that's really good. For 103 yards, no touchdown regardless, and even though he didn't catch a touchdown, as long as you produce something, that's really good. I just hope that Josh McDaniels is not predictable. Like when you give Kayshon Boutte opportunities, but as long as Josh McDaniels is not like making predictable plays, coming up with calling predictable plays that the defense may catch on, it would have been a whole different story. It could be more diverse. We could have given Stephon Diggs more opportunities, who actually went 6 for 7 in catches, which is really good for Stephon Diggs. I wish he could have more production, but nevertheless. Matt Collins 1 for 2, only for 3 yards. Kyle Williams 1 for 1, that's 12 yards. I wish they can all have opportunities. Drake May looked decent other than that interception, but for the majority of it. But I just think that he needs to be locked in, not make these mental mistakes like he did last time. And I just feel like if he can have the connection, if Josh McDaniels can make it more creative with his play calling outside of like his typical screen passes, like run, and then pass, run, pass, it could be different. But now let's talk about predictions. Let's talk about the defense, because I don't think we covered too much with the defense. And outside of we did talk about Harold Landry, who was currently the leading NFL leader in sacks this year. There was the stat that Patriots were second most in missed tackles. 11 missed tackles. Do you think that the Patriots need to improve at tackling? Because it seems like that has been an issue even during the preseason, because it seems like the fact that we had 11 missed tackles, that's kind of concerning, because let me find the Patriots defense. So let me see. 2 missed tackles from Christian Ellis, 1 missed tackle from Craig Woodson, 1 missed tackle from Alec Coxon, 2 missed tackles from Jalen Hawkins, 1 missed tackle from Marcus Jones, and then 1 missed tackle from Jack Gibbons. Do you think that this team should work on their tackling? Because it seems like it's been the same issue again.
Yes, they need to work on their tackling, and they need to do it pronto. Because again, we're playing at Miami at this point. And like, if we cannot produce any tackling, or if our players cannot tackle for effing crap, then there's going to be an issue with this defense. It's the thing that people say on paper, we have to have the most improved defense in this roster. If that doesn't show it this season and by this Sunday against Miami, then it's a dud.
And we would have been paying all this money all for nothing. That's going to be the big concern. And outside of Harold Landry, outside of Milton Williams, who actually created 8 pressures on that offensive line. But I hope the secondary. My biggest concern is going to be the secondary. If they keep on allowing these plays like that, Carlton Davis, I know that from what I heard, he likes to make risky plays. Do you think that Carlton Davis should maybe be like more passive, or he should not like be risky with like his plays? Because there are times like that one play where it was 3rd and 20 and we allowed it to be a first down. Do you think that Carlton Davis should not like be risky with those kind of plays?
I think if Gonzo was on the field, he'd have more liberty to be able to be risky, because it's not like he's covering the ones, or it's not as big a responsibility. but because we did need him to kind of be our number one, I don't think he can take crazy chances like that. Like, I think in the Discord it was towards the end of the game where, maybe there's a shot, like we can get the ball back here if we stop him. And then I texted going, there's no way they convert this 4th and 30, right? Or 4th and 20, whatever, or 3rd and 20, whatever it was. But it was like down in distance. And of course, like Gino hit up Dante Thornton Jr.
it was Thornton Jr.? Okay. Oh.
For like a 26-yard gain on Carlton. And I'm just going like, what are we doing? And that hurt. But I think, I don't know. I think it ultimately just comes down to like mental lapses and errors. We had Jalen Hawkins, who it seemed like every other play was like good, bad, good, bad. Because like he let up that crazy gain, or even the touchdown. Was it the touchdown to Myers or whoever it was, Trey Tucker? And then it was like next drive just comes out and picks off Gino, and then let up a run, and then next play
Jalen Hawkins
had a sack. Yeah, he was like on and off. Like
I didn't get the inconsistent. That's the problem with. I hate players that are inconsistent. I remember I know you're an advocate for Keishon Boutte. There were times where Keishon Boutte can be inconsistent, like during practice. Like you could be hot for one moment and then you're cold for the next one. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. It's not like hot potato. You got to stay consistent, especially to be on the team. You got to be consistent, and these kind of mistakes could get you. But I hope. I know Carlton did. I know Gonzo's injury is kind of mentally affected the team, especially that you have to make these kind of adjustments. And I hope that these players can like improve on that. So let's see with who allowed the touch. Jalen Hawkins definitely allowed that touch. I think it was only one touchdown, but then there was another touchdown. I don't know exactly, but I think it was on the run. I think if I can find it, but I think that nevertheless, the defense looked okay. I think Harold Landry, if he can be the same guy he was against the Raiders, oh my gosh, it's going to be Fiesta, and Tua's not going to be. Tua's going to be turn the ball over again, but I think we're now getting into the finale where we're going to talk about predictions. And I know that predictions, we were so inaccurate with our predictions. I think we went 0 for 1, I think, because we originally picked that the Patriots should beat the Raiders, but against the Dolphins at South Beach, what are your predictions for this one?
Oh, boy. So, with the history of not winning at Miami, I hope our defense is going to do good. I hope Drake May does not play hero ball. I hope this team is being more consistent. I hope the offensive line is going to be disciplined. I hope we can win at Miami without being might be the biggest laughing stock in our division. Oh, boy. So with that being said, since Miami is just not that good this season here, I do not want to jinx myself here. I still think it's going to be close, regardless how trash Miami is. I say Patriots 24, Dolphins 22.
Interesting. How about you, Austin?
Yeah, I kind of lean Patriots by a small margin. Kind of thinking Patriots 24, Dolphins 21. I only say that because even with the Dolphins having so much uncertainty because of all the injuries, I feel like we have just as much uncertainty with thinking we were going to come out and smack the Raiders in the mouth, and we just fell flat on our face. So I had a little footnote, like if Gonzalez is out there, I think we survive Miami's offense a lot easier. If Hill or Waddle start getting going early and, that team starts beating us with the RPOs, I could definitely see it flipped. But I feel like if New England gets some early turnovers, I think we could get ahead early, and you could potentially see us win by a touchdown or more, but I think it's going to be very heavily run dependent on our offense. I think we definitely need to get the run going against this beaten up Dolphins defense if we are looking to secure our first win of the season.
So your final score is going to be
I said 24-21.
okay, 24-21. Oh my gosh, here comes my scores. I hope this team performs well. We all know the Miami Dolphins destroy us no matter what at home in South Beach. The last time we played on South Beach, we got our butts kicked, 34-15 Dolphins. Last time, well, when Austin, me and Andy did our predictions, we did say that the Dolphins might win the game. Based on the history of this thing, I want the Patriots to win, but if Drake May continues to make these missed plays, or if we don't produce a run game, or if the offensive line doesn't do a good job against this stupid Miami defense, I'm gonna have to say 2017 Patriots. Drake May scoring a touchdown and maybe an interception, but that's only because there will be mistakes again. I can tell you, and I can see this is going to be a hard one, especially we're going down South Beach. But if the defense produced well, I'll say 2017 Patriots. I just realized there's one more thing we can talk about, and that is special teams. Let's talk about special teams for a second because I don't think we touch on that. But what are you guys' thoughts on Andres Bergalis now? Even though he went for 2 and 3, how are you feeling about it?
It's not his fault, basically. It's just the foot placement when he kicks. Like, it's not his fault. It's either that or even that the ball holder would just bearing her. Like again, I'm not going at him because he's a rookie at this point. Like, this is first game, and like I always say, like sometimes rookies get nervous when they play their first game of the season. But take me for example. It's when I was a freshman in high school. This is my very first high school football game of the season, and yet I got the jitters. I get nervous every single time when I step on the field in front of almost 500 people. Like if I was in the NFL field in front of almost like 60,000 people, I have every right to get nervous. So technically here, like, this is your first NFL game, you get nervous, it's fine. This is going to be your second game of the season for Bergalis. You have to get used to the environment, especially the plus that, Nay, you went to Miami last season, and this is the stadium that he's recognized with.
Exactly, especially that he's never played he's playing at, because throughout his entire career before he was drafted by New England, he only played in Venezuela and in Miami because he went to the school. He played for the Hurricanes. So I would be shocked if Andre Bergalis misses these easy field goals in these hot weather conditions, even though I have zero clue what the weather's going to look like down in Miami for Sunday. Let me do a quick check.
I have it in my notes.
Let me check. So it's going to, oh my gosh. I think it's going to be cloudy down in Miami because there are reports saying that it's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be stormy all week in Miami. Look at this.
Are you fucking, is it going to rain again?
It's going to be storming in Miami.
Yeah.
Storm.
I mean, hey, that's good though, because I was about to talk about how, Miami has that advantage where when they built the stadium, they made it so the home side bench area, the sun comes down and it shades that, and the away side bench area is in the direct sunlight, which is why everybody has a disadvantage when playing at the Hard Rock Arena, because it's It's just heat beating down on you. If it's 84 degrees on the Dolphins sideline, the sun beating down is going to be upwards of almost 100 over there.
I did not know that. It looks like it's going to be, since the game is going to be at 1 p.m. EST. It's going to be 86 degrees that day. It might subject to change, but throughout the game, it's going to be partly cloudy, so partly sunny, partly cloudy. So it weather could play into a factor because I know it was raining last week. Obviously, I didn't watch the game. I was basically doing errands. I went to dinner, doing other stuff with a couple of friends. But nevertheless, got to take advantage of the weather, especially since we experience this kind of weather up here in New England. It's going to play a factor. So I'm curious to see how well the team adjusts, especially in these kind of conditions, and especially going to Hard Rock Mine. And we all know the history of the team losing at Hard Rock Mine. So this is going to be interesting. But that's going to be it, guys. And I'll turn this over to you guys. I want you to comment down below. What are your thoughts for the Patriots Dolphins game, and what are your score predictions for this Patriots Dolphins game? We would love to hear it. And if you really enjoyed the show and you want to see more of this series, please make sure that you smash the like button, hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And also share this with your friends, family, your teachers, your parents, your dog, your pets, heck, even your grandmothers or grandparents, or anybody who is a Patriots fan, to come on here and talk some ball with us. We would love to enjoy that. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.